Broadcasting from the Merritt Hall Studios out of Carson City, Nevada. You're listening to Covering the Field with Big Richard Martin, Gator Gates, and Joe the Answer Ellison.
Welcome to Covering the Field. I'm Joe Ellison, and with me today are my hard-working colleagues, Big Richard Martin and Gator Gates. First off, we have to share the sad news of one of our most loyal listeners passing away. Bill Whitstone of Carson City has moved on to the other side. Bill was a big football and 49er fan, and he loved to bet on the games. I watched many a game with him. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family and friends. From all of us here on the show, rest in peace, Bill.
Rest in peace, brother.
Guys, going on to football. Let's start with the results from the AFC and NFC Conference Championship games in the National Football League. First up was San Francisco at Philadelphia, with the Eagles winning 31-7. Big Rich?
Philadelphia just punished the quarterbackless 49ers. I mean, what a sad way. I'm just at a disappointment for the NFC Championship game. Everybody was so excited about this. We thought it was going to be a great defensive battle, which it was in the first half. It was just Brock Purdy goes out on the 6th play of the game on their offensive play, and he had a UCL injury, which is your ulnar collateral ligament, which is currently referred to as baseball players, and you know, Rockin, Ronnie would know this. That's the Tommy John surgery. So it's from repetitive pitching usually, but this was an injury caused by a sack from the end, and it was horrible because you know they were trying to get an edge rusher with their tight end to block them. I mean, that was just poor. I mean, Shanahan, that's probably one of his worst games that I've ever seen him coach. I mean, usually he's a genius out there. You know, then they bring in Josh Johnson, and then can we all get one of our, what were you thinking? Yeah. You know, I mean, Josh Johnson at the beginning of the year was the practice quarterback for the Denver Broncos. So I'm going to give you guys a little trivia on Kyle Shanahan's backup quarterback. Great moves. His first career start was 2010 with the Washington Redskins at that time.
Okay.
Is that sink or swim?
Oh, Washington Redskins. I don't remember him being on the Washington Redskins, but he was on so many different teams, it's possible. I'm going to say sink on that one. He started with a different team. I'm going to guess like Atlanta for some reason.
I have to go, the Washington hit me first, so no, not Washington. Maybe somebody like Giants?
Well, you guys are both correct on your sink or swim this week. He played with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Brian Leftwich, quarterbacking the team at that time. So I'm going to give you guys, since I couldn't stump you on the first Josh Johnson, I'm going to stump you on the second one. He played for the great college quarterback coach. Jim Harbaugh was his coach in college.
Oh, well, since that one was a sink, I got to go with a swim on this one, just the law of averages. But I don't really remember.
Stanford?
Yeah, it could have been Stanford. Yeah, I'll go with that.
I really don't know Big Richard, so just on that I'll say sink.
It is a swim. He played for Jim Harbaugh, but it wasn't with Stanford. It was with the San Diego University. No, San Diego University College. He played there, and he was drafted. He played for like 17 teams. And most of them, you know, never, really? Yeah, it was just, you know, just a backup quarterback. Yeah. And, you know, we had 2 really big plays that game. And I'd say the first one was what were you thinking, Kyle Shanahan, when you don't challenge a play when the receiver that caught it is trying to pump his fist, like, let's hurry up. That is a dead giveaway that you did something wrong. I don't know what he was thinking. He didn't challenge that. Red flag should have came out immediately.
The replays didn't come out immediately either.
Right.
When I was watching the game, I was like, well, it sure looked like a catch. And then later, after the next play was played, then you
have to challenge that point. They wouldn't even have had a touchdown. They would have got the ball back, and it could have changed the whole thing. And then your second is bonehead is, why do you have Josh Johnson? I mean, why couldn't Garoppolo? I mean, I know he has a broken foot, but I mean, Mahomes played with a high ankle sprain. You could at least, I mean, you had McCaffrey throwing passes. It was just, he was not prepared for Brock Purdy going out. No. And if the saying is, if you're not prepared, then you should be prepared to fail. and that's exactly what he did. So, and Garoppolo's smiling on the sidelines. I mean, today Kyle Shanahan said something that actually agreed with him this week. Was he said, I don't see any way, shape, or form Garoppolo will be back next year as a 49er.
Yeah, he somewhat enjoyed that somehow. The injuries to the 49er quarterback. Poor old Josh Johnson getting that concussion, 36 years old. We might have seen the last of him, but you just never know.
Well, he'll be somewhere. I mean, Garoppolo will be playing somewhere. He was accident prone.
Garoppolo for sure.
But I don't see with Brock Purdy, they're saying that's a 6-month injury. But let's just
training camp.
It's training camp, but he misses all the off season. He doesn't have a lot of time already. He's a rookie. And, off season is very, very important for your growth. It's just a bad situation. They're gonna have to ride with Trey Lance, who's not been proven. At least Brock Purdy's proven, but I think sometimes if it's they don't even know what degree it is yet of that UCL, but it could be even worse.
Mm-hmm.
Walker Buehler's been out for over a year, so it could be even further than that. We don't know.
Well, still, it was 7-7 with less than 2 minutes left in the first half.
Yes,
So it was
exactly. And if you took my under, you were thinking that's a great first half. It's 21-7, get 14-7.
Yes.
Minute 47 looks like the under's solid, but who we put in there? Josh Johnson. Stone hands on a unbelievable. Just changed that. At that point in time, the game was over, and it's sad that we were looking so forward to it all week. But as soon as Josh Johnson ran on the field, it was over.
Just a matter of time. He wasn't even looking at the ball when it was snapped to him, and it fumbled him.
But let's give credit to Philadelphia. The Mean Green defense got it done. They had pressure all day. They stopped the run, and then they had 4 touchdowns on the ground. So that number one defense definitely got pounded, beat up. It was just a 49ers. You got hosed, and
they certainly ran the ball well on this supposed excellent 49er run defense too.
And Jalen Hurts definitely was missing targets. I thought that, I don't think it was the great defense. I think he overthrew a lot of players. So I'm going to give you guys, he was 15 for 25, 121 yards, sink or swim. There were more penalty yards than Jalen Hurts had passing yards.
Oh gosh. Oh, I was going to say sink on that one. I might have got my first one wrong here because everybody here is saying it's a swim.
Everybody's blaming the refs of these games, but not this case. Joe, you were correct again.
There you go, Good job.
Right again.
Good job, Joe.
They had 11 penalties, more than 49ers first downs, but they also had 81 yards, only for 81 yards.
Oh.
So
it just seemed worse.
It did seem worse, and it seems
that's because they weren't calling it.
And we're going to talk about the refs. We're going to talk about the refs later, but you're always going to have. And I thought Tom Brady was perfect coming out when he put his tweet out there that. He was, you can't blame the refs. You can call holding on every play. It
was bad.
Yeah. So
the whole game was bad. And the way I see this, guys, is like if you're handicapping horses and you see a horse that was second, third, second, sixth, and you look at the sixth and go, why? Well, because it was muddy, raining. You just scratch that game out. I'm scratching this game out. And no wonder Big Richard couldn't say anything because what do you say to that game at the beginning? What do you say?
You can scratch it out, but the season is over.
Yeah, well, that's it.
And you can't say it's over. I'd say, with Brock Purdy, I don't know if that would have made a difference to him because I really think that defense was
Philly was going to win that game. That Devontae Smith catch. Okay, so the final might have been 24-7.
Right.
But if Purdy had played, maybe 24-17, maybe something like that.
Well, they definitely would have had a touchdown, so it would have been up 14 points. At halftime. So it gives you a chance, but
handicapping it, that messes the numbers up for the Philly as well. You see everything they've done, but how much was it really? San Francisco being that terrible and fighting with themselves and everything else that happened.
Well, it's just been I think that there's so much on the referees. I've never seen anything like this after championship games. It's the bad luck for the NFL going into the Super Bowl for sure. I'm going to give my producer. What was that Super Bowl? Pittsburgh and Seattle.
Yeah.
When there was the 2 phantom offensive penalties, and then they called against Seattle that cost them the game.
Sure.
I don't know which Super Bowl that. We're getting our statistician on that right now. But
we got to go back Roethlisberger. We got to go about 12, 15
right,
years ago.
Exactly. So there were 2 offense, and then they came out at the beginning of the year saying it was they were sorry for the poor calls that they made. They were wrong calls and actually called them. So I have to go back to that. So since I've seen that much hatred on the refs, it's a very difficult job. very fast-paced game with premium athletes out there. They usually get it right on their but on this one they definitely didn't. On a few of these questionable calls, and we'll talk about that going into the Kansas City game.
And one quick shout out to the one lone 49er fan I saw wearing a hat the next day. Everybody else had put their gear away, apparently, because all the 49er stuff was in the closet at that point. But anyway, that's just where I hang out. Times are rough.
Right.
Very, very disappointing finish.
Yeah, I was very disappointed in my first bet there, too, because I was like, he just Josh Johnson fumbled my money right down the drain. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Well, next up Sunday was Cincinnati at Kansas City, a game that the Chiefs won 23-20.
Well, that's like we predicted on the show. I said Kansas City's going to do it with some kind of magic play from Magic Mahomes. Didn't I say that at the beginning?
It takes a little help, too.
Sometimes. It took a little bit of help, but I'm telling you, the guy with one leg outplayed the other quarterback. In this game, the numbers, the stats, third down efficiencies, first downs, yards, were all in favor of Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes had 326 yards, passing compared to 200 and some yards for Joe Burrow. Yeah, and he had the 2 interceptions. So it was
Super Bowl. We haven't had that many.
No, our statistician's probably going to be with Kyle Shanahan's offensive coordinator. He just told me it was Super Bowl 69, and we are not even close to that Super Bowl yet.
What is he thinking?
Yes, exactly. Going through his room.
I will say, before the game started, I'll say the Cincinnati players were talking a lot of junk.
Right.
And then it's the mayor involved, and it's
right.
so disrespectful.
So who was it? Was it a writer or a mayor that said that it's Burrowhead?
Well, it was.
I think it was a writer.
Yeah. They
called it Burrowhead, and that's bulletin players. As you saw after the game, they said this is Mahomes' house, not Burrowhead, and they were very, talking about, very, very much so that they were going to win that for Patrick Mahomes, who they say is the best quarterback, which is hard to disagree at this point, as he, with one leg, and he did. And, it came down to the one play you were talking about is Joseph Asaya, the Texas second-round pick, pushing Mahomes out of bounds, gave him the 15-yarder. I know everybody hates that call. There's other plays that you can be upset about. You can't be upset about that. He was clearly outside the white, not even on the field when he pushed him. I mean, he was closer to the cheerleaders than he was the football field, and they gave him a good push. And if Mahomes could have injured his ankle, that could have proved costly in overtime. Absolutely. And now we found out that it's not Super Bowl 69, but it was Super Bowl 40.
That makes sense.
And, that makes a little bit more sense.
Yes.
So
I will say the mayor saying that, I mean, you could tell the Chiefs were definitely inspired. I mean, Cincinnati, what have they really done so far? They have never won a Super Bowl. So, and here the Chiefs, they just, tried really, really hard. And the mayor, as Travis Kelce said, is not as good as Jerry Springer, who was the former mayor of Cincinnati. And he should lose his next election for sure.
For costing him, giving him bulletin board material. But I would say this is like you talk about the refs in that play. Definitely that was a hit out of bounds. There was definitely holding on that play. It looked like the defensive players were getting held on that same exact play that they called it.
That could be a You Got Hosed
story
down the road.
We're always right on time, aren't we, Joe?
Yeah.
But, as you look through it, as they came out with what the referees saw during that game, they said that the reason they made that call, which is another preview of my guy got hosed, but when they made the call, they gave him an extra third down, that they didn't stop the clock on an incomplete pass, so the clock was running. Right. So it is correct that they stopped it. That who they should be upset is with whoever was doing the clock, letting the clock run instead of stopping on incomplete. And I'm sure the guy was wearing a red Kansas City Chief hat that was running the clock. But no, seriously, they should have called it. It was the play, but they should have caught it before, you're getting ready to snap the ball that the clock was running.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the official time. Isn't the official time
on the field?
So even though
they could have adjusted it.
I know exactly.
They could have adjusted it. Yeah. They should have let that play. Well, they were blowing the whistle, so you could have said. I mean, if you're blowing the whistle, the play's dead, even though you couldn't hear it. It was definitely
referee in charge of the.
But it wasn't the extra down. It was the person running the clock. It's a fault there. And you can't say nothing about that hit out of bounds. It definitely was. If you want to say maybe the hit in the back they're talking about on the punt return,
that was worse.
Well, I don't think he hit him. I think it was what they're coaching now is when you raise your hands, you're just basically just being a pick. So it's not a pick. It's not a hit in the back. Even though his back was turned, he didn't hit him. He raised his hands, but he definitely, when he turned, the player turned into him with his back. So I don't think that's a hit in the back. I think that's not. I don't think. I don't see that. It wasn't a hit. Well, I mean, I hit in the back is to protect the player, and he wasn't hitting.
That could also be part of the "you got hosed" story.
We're just nailing it, aren't we?
Well, maybe we should have started the show with "you got hosed." There's so much hosing going around in the NFC Championship week. But let's give it to the defense, though. Seriously, Kansas City's defensive backs played very well. They had Joe Burrow. It was his worst game since game 1. So they definitely played good. They had the rookie cornerbacks in there, Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson, rookies this year, and they're stepping up big. And I think that's going to prove that it could be something in the Philadelphia game, as Jalen Hurts has not been playing very well. And I think that the Kansas City defense is definitely, at the beginning of the year, they were not playing this good, but I think that there's in the last weeks of the season, they're definitely playing better.
Well, we'll see. Cincinnati's offensive line, those injuries kind of caught up with them in that particular game because they couldn't run the ball as well as they did against Buffalo, and they couldn't seem to protect Joe Burrow like they did against Buffalo either. And
then the other controversy call was, they had 4 sacks in the first half, on Burrow, and then they also had the intentional grounding, which there was a player in the field.
That was a bad call.
No, it was a bad call. He was close, but you can't question he was grounding that ball. And so I think if you can make it.
The next play, they got the first down, so that didn't really affect the game.
Did not affect the game at all. Yeah. But it was a bad call. If you see the guy was in the field, I think they're going to have to make some adjustments. I think you're going to have to, next year, there are definitely going to be some adjustments. I think they'll have a referee in the film booth upstairs watching the film live and stopping any questionable play, stopping the play. I think that you'll see that next year. I think they'll call it the ref, the eye in the sky.
But Cincinnati, okay, in my eyes, I think Cincinnati lost that game because of that punt that they did right down the middle of the field.
That could also be part of the "you got hosed" story at the end of the show.
Joe, how many hosts?
Okay, Joe.
It's the last 30 seconds. You got host story.
Okay.
We're breaking down
every play. Well, I'll leave it alone, Joe. Okay. I'll leave it alone.
And the final thing that really hurt Cincinnati was when Tyler Boyd got hurt. They had that 3-headed monster at wide receiver, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, and Boyd not being on the field hurt.
Right, and you looked at who they were playing with. They had no receivers left on Kansas City. They were playing with a special team guy that had more tackles than he had receptions. So that definitely affected Patrick Mahomes. With no receivers, still got the job done. Good job, Patrick. Good job, Patrick Mahomes. On the 8th day, God created Patrick Mahomes.
We got to give a shout out to Kansas City's defense because I don't think Kansas City's defense is really that well, and I think they played a great game. I do want to give a shout out to them.
They were inspired for sure. And 4 times the charm for Kansas City. They had lost 3 in a row to Cincinnati, so we got that monkey off their back. So home teams in both the AFC and NFC are now 8-3 in conference championship games over the last 11 years. Ooh, that's pretty strong. They were both favorites this year, also.
Right. And both had a bye.
Yes, I'm going to get into that. Rookie quarterbacks are now 0-5 in championship games. Brock Purdy, well, you are officially the starter of that game. Mm-hmm. You get saddled with that. As you were saying, both number 1 seeds made it to the Super Bowl. Personally, I don't think there should be a bye week for anybody. That's an unfair advantage, just having 1 bye. We could have had an extra game like Detroit or Green Bay playing at Philly, or that would have been interesting, or Pittsburgh at Kansas City. That could have been a good game. They could have run the ball a little bit.
So you're saying you want 8 teams? You want to move it up to 8 teams?
Now that we hit 7, 6 was fine, but now that we hit 7, we got to move it to 8.
No buys.
There should be no buys.
No buys. Everybody plays.
Everybody wanted to see Detroit play one more game.
Absolutely.
Sure, why not?
Could they have given Philly a game?
Sure.
I think so.
They could have.
They didn't earlier in the season, but
but they played much better at the end of the year. Right. As far as the totals are concerned, during the last 2 weeks of action, all 6 games went under.
That's amazing.
It is. The last 6 Philadelphia and last 8 San Francisco playoff games have all gone under.
In this era. Yeah, in this era where it's all touchdowns.
Right. Well, Gator, the Super Bowl is in 2 weeks. Incidentally, I went 2-1 last week. But anyway, yay.
Yay, man.
I got Philadelphia and under. I had Cincinnati. Oh, well. Luckily, Philly game was first. I could head to the second game. I came out ahead. Hallelujah.
That's all matters.
So how has the line been moving since the line came out for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, Joe. Caesars Sportsbook opened at a pick'em when it first came out, and then 30 minutes later, the line went to a -1.5 on field. Now, I know yesterday it was at 2, but I guess it went back down to 1.5.
That's what I saw last night, 1.5. Yep.
So the over and under, I think that's moved up 1.5 since the opening line.
Right.
Maybe even
around
more.
50 right now. Is it 40?
I saw
No,
47.5 when it opened, and I saw 49.5 last night.
Yeah, so it's getting there.
So, I mean, people love to bet the over in the Super Bowl. Last year it didn't go over. I don't know. We haven't seen an over in 3 weeks in any of these playoff games. So I'm surprised to see that spread, that total going
Well,
up.
we'll get into this next week when we're at the Why Not, since we have 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We'll get into because there's also some really good prop bets.
Numerous
Oh,
propositions.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely.
How about some getting to some news today? Tom Brady again. It's very strange. He just got divorced. I thought maybe football had something to do with that, so he could go out and do his own thing. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I think he's if you saw his tweet he put out, the way he put it out, I think it was just class. Joe, he's been class. He's been class. Everything he's done, he said, "This is my last time." He's very adamant. This is my last retirement, and he says, "You don't get a big long speech. You only get one of those for your retirement." I used mine last year, so I'm definitely done this year. And I think he is. I think he knows that it's time, and he's definitely, it was his first losing season, and I think he just sees it. I mean, everybody thought maybe it was definitely his last game in Tampa Bay. I thought he'd be a good fit in San Francisco since they can't get it right at quarterback, can't keep anybody healthy, and I can't see, maybe Vegas would have been a good pick, but I think he's done, and it's a good time, and so I think it changes everything. Derek Carr his stock just went up because he's now the #1 guy that they want to get out there, and he made the Pro Bowl. Can you imagine? He made the Pro Bowl, got cut from a team, and he gets the Pro Bowl and played in the same stadium where he got cut from. So that's something there.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about the Pro Bowl too here coming up.
Yes. But let's talk about the coaching news too.
I was gonna say, but once you start using the word retire, you're basically halfway retired at that point.
Right.
You're just
it's time to go, and he was just a class act. And you just look what he did. I mean, that he didn't he win 12 championships? I mean, 12. He went to NFC. I mean, the championship game. He won 12 out of the 20 years. I mean, that's dominance right there. And if you look, 21 coaches from the AFC East got fired during his 20 years. So not only you're winning, but you're getting people fired. 21 coaches have been fired in his 20-year time in New England. So tough to play against Tom Brady, and the AFC East was locked down the whole time he was there.
So okay, Big Rich. When the season's come to an end, that's the time to talk about the coaching carousel.
Yes.
What's the news from the coaching ring?
Well, let's first talk about the Denver Broncos. Sean Payton taken from the Cowboys again. I mean, how many times do the Broncos have to snatch people from the Cowboys? I mean,
Jerry Jones likes Mike McCarthy.
He likes Mike McCarthy, and he doesn't like Ellen Moore, the offensive coordinator. They did a great job with Cooper Rush, I thought, and did a great job with the #1 offense 2 years ago. And what do? You let them go to the LA Chargers, who their scapegoat offensive coordinator gets canned for the dumbness of the head coach, Brandon Stanley. Is it Brandon Staley? Yeah. I think he should have gone. I mean, if you're going to give Kellen a job, I'd give him the head coach job, not the offensive coordinator job, that's for sure. But the defensive coordinator is staying put in Dallas. Is that correct, Joe?
Yes, Dan Quinn is definitely staying.
So
that's the better end of.
It's better because he was one of the.
I would rather have him than Kellen.
Right.
Kellen Moore, for sure.
But we look at D'Amico Ryan went to Houston. I think that's a great game.
Yes.
Gave him a 6-year contract, and I think that but that's 2 defensive coordinators 2 years in a row from San Francisco are getting head coach jobs. So
that's
so they're looking into.
When you go to the championship game.
Yeah, you're dominating, and that defense was definitely dominating, and they have a lot of picks and a lot of young players out there. So they gave him a 6-year like, hey, they're going long term with this guy. I love what they did with that. Good job. Good looking. Things are going to look in the future are looking better for Houston. Even, like last year, they were the worst team in the NFL. Just made a great play at the end of the year, cost them the #1 pick. But the Bears say thank you very much. And but I think that they have some stuff there, and it's definitely against the spread. They were great. Houston was great. They were pretty much in most of the games. Yeah. So I think they have some good things going forward there.
So Denver traded a first and second round pick to New Orleans for Sean Payton and a third round pick. Frank Reich, of course, was fired by Indianapolis, and boom, he gets another job. Yes. D'Amico Ryans, to Houston. There's a pattern forming here. David Culley, Lovie Smith, D'Amico Ryans. What do they have in common? Well, they're all black. You don't have to worry about Houston interviewing black head coaching candidate. They just flat out hire him. So,
well, I mean, I don't think
interesting.
I don't think I know that. I mean, there's still quite a bit of difference black and white quarterbacks. Coaches in the NFL. But I think it's getting better, and I think that I don't really care. It shouldn't be about the color of your skin. It should be your job performance. And good job, Houston, because I think you got a great guy.
Yeah, he should be a successful coach. I agree. Indianapolis and Arizona still searching for a head coach right now, right?
Yes, we're still definitely think Jeff Saturday is definitely not coming back to the Colts, and I don't think anybody wants that job in Arizona. So I don't know how they're going to do that. That's a straight mess right now. But we'll see what happens.
Well, we do have a football game this Sunday, sort of. It's the Pro Bowl flag football game and skills competition in Las Vegas.
Gator's got all that information. Gator, tell us what we got.
I haven't seen any odds yet.
Yeah, will there be betting odds on this, Gator?
Oh man,
that's I wouldn't think so. I mean, I really don't know. Maybe the bigger books, maybe the Vegas books, but you get outside of South Nevada, I'm kind of doubt it.
Well, we have nothing to bet on this Sunday, so I would appreciate if they would put something out there so we can bet on. But tell us about what we got going on there, Gator.
Well, I don't have all the events, but what I do have is like at 7-on-7. They have a dodgeball. There's going to be 4 teams in a dodgeball.
The dodgeball was good last year. If you watched it, it was the Diggs brothers were against each other the last 2. That's fun to watch it. I thought it was interesting.
Man, they're lightning round. You get drinks and they have catching those water balloons.
Yeah, we went to water balloon throwing. Okay, so that'll be next.
Well, how about the long drive contest? That has a lot to do with football.
I think we should get some hockey.
Yeah, they're going to have golf long drive. So I don't know. It was pretty good when we had Peyton Manning and Tom Brady playing during COVID. And we had nothing to watch. I thought that was an interesting golf game.
Well, there's a bit I kind of like that gridiron gauntlet. I'm kind of interested in that one.
Yeah, they're going to do an obstacle course, and then the linemen, since they're playing 7-on-7, what are the linemen going to do? They're going to pull the chain. They call pull the chain. They're going to be a big wall. They're going to pull a ball so you can pull the ball farther. I don't know. Yeah. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, you remember, show my age a little bit, but remember the Wonderful World of Sports we used to watch on Saturday? We had the different players with their obstacle course and different Superstars competition.
Oh,
exactly. So you should love this, Joe. I don't know why you're hating on it.
Well, it was usually like the pole vaulters and the water skiers that ended up winning.
Boxers too, yeah.
It wasn't the football players.
Our producer's saying we got to move on from the Pro Bowl. He's saying moving on. So we're going to have to go to this.
I will say as far as the game itself, all the AFC quarterbacks, none of them that were supposed to be in the Pro Bowl are going to be there.
Well, that's going to be the accuracy. That's one of them could probably cost them some money if they don't throw the ball very well. But I like to see Aaron Rodgers. I'm pretty sure he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks. I'm sure you could just give him that title right now.
Congratulations to Tyler Huntley getting invited.
Yeah.
What? And
he has more interceptions. More interceptions than touchdowns, and he had 2 touchdowns.
Can't find somebody better
since
than Tyler Huntley? Really?
I think he had. I think since 1970, first Pro Bowler with only 2 touchdowns. So anyway. It is what it is. We got to move on. Our producers.
Josh Allen, by the way, playing at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am rather than the Pro Bowl.
Well, that makes sense.
And wouldn't it be ironic if someone got hurt at the Pro Bowl? 1999, New England first-round pick Robert Edwards got a career-ending injury in a 4-on-4 beach flag football game in Hawaii. Just saying, why can't we just play the regular game like we used to, personally?
All right, Joe. Well, we have to move on.
Gator.
Wait, first, no, we have to go through we're going to go through these awards real quick. I want you guys to tell me these are the finalists for the NFL Honors Awards, which will be February 9th. I want you guys to tell me not who you think is going to win, but who do you think these players should win these awards. We'll start off with the MVP: Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Jefferson, Joe Burrow, or Jalen Hurts. Who's your MVP?
For me, it's Holmes out of that list.
Mahomes, Magic Mahomes.
Mahomes, just looking at the stats, he has the best stats.
Right. I think if Jalen Hurts would have played a full season, I would probably go that way. It would have been better, but Patrick Mahomes definitely, like we said on the 8th day, God created Patrick Mahomes. All right. Offensive Player of the Year: Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Tyreek Hill, or Justin Jefferson.
Well, if it's just Offensive Player of the Year, I guess I'd have to go Justin Jefferson just because they 1,800 yards, but Hurts deserves an award. So,
well, Tyreek Hill is what I'm going to go with because I think Tyreek Hill definitely. I don't know. Did they have more yards than Jefferson? Tyreek Hill.
Jefferson had.
Because Tyreek Hill was on the cusp of breaking a record at the. I remember we talked about it on the show here.
I agree with you. I like that pick too as well, John.
So we're going to go wide receiver on Offensive Player of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year: Michael Parsons, Nick Bosa, or the only one left still playing football, Chris Jones from the Kansas City Chiefs.
I like Parsons.
Oh, thank you for agreeing with me.
Yeah, good.
By default, I will pick the Dallas Cowboy, and that's Michael Parsons.
Well, I'm going to go with Nick Bosa. Definitely the most dominant player, most sacks in the league. Nick Bosa for sure. Offensive Rookie of the Year: Brock Purdy, which had a great season. Kenneth Walker or Garrett Wilson from the Jets.
It's hard not to give it to the running back. I'm going to say Kenneth Walker on that one, but that's a pretty tight battle.
Right? I can't give it to Purdy just because he didn't do anything too spectacular. He just didn't screw up. I'm going to have to go with Joe on that one as well.
I'm going to go with Kenneth Walker. Great first season in Seattle. All right, Defensive Rookie of the Year: Aiden Hutchinson from the Lions had a great season out there. Sauce Gardner or Tyreek Woolen?
Well, Sauce Gardner, pretty dominant corner for the Jets.
Great.
I think he made the Pro Bowl as a rookie.
But especially at the beginning of the season, how they were playing, I'd have to agree with that as well.
I'd say it's Sauce Gardner too. We're all going to go with that one. Comeback Player of the Year: Geno Smith, Christian McCaffrey, or Saquon Barkley?
Geno Smith. I mean, that was amazing. They expected absolutely nothing from him, and he made the Pro Bowl.
Okay.
I agree. The other two, you kind of expect them to do something, where Geno...
Well, Geno hasn't done anything, so how can you come back from nothing? All right, so you have to go Saquon Barkley because at least he was, he's been injured, and I think Christian McCaffrey just never really lost anything.
Barkley to do stuff.
Yeah.
But he's definitely been down the last few years, and he was one of the most dominant running backs for sure.
Smith was sitting on the bench. He wasn't playing. So I guess that's why he did the comeback player.
Okay, all right. Well, best story of the year, I'll give you that one. All right, let's move on to the Coach of the Year. Sean McDermott, Kyle Shanahan, Nick Sirianni, Doug Peterson, or Brian DeBall.
Well, it's narrowed down to two. Nick Sirianni had the best record, best team all year, but that job that Peterson did in Jacksonville, bringing them from absolutely nowhere to winning the division. But I'm going to pick Sirianni just because of the record and being the best because Jacksonville played in a really poor division.
I go with Doug just because of that.
Yeah. Doug Peterson. I'm going to go with Brian DeBall because I think that the Giants definitely had the biggest turnaround. I mean, they know what they had them pick coming in last. No one had him doing anything. He turned that whole franchise around. But he did a good job.
I don't think you can go wrong with any of those three.
No,
yeah, you're right. Those good choices. Yeah. Assistant Coach of the Year is going to be the Eagles, Shane Stetchen. You got D'Amico Ryans from San Francisco or Ben Johnson for the OC offense coordinator for the Lions.
Yeah, those are the two guys. I'm not really too familiar exactly what they're doing, but D'Amico Ryans, just getting his job, number one defense, getting the job at Houston. I guess you have to pick him.
You'd have to pick the one that got the job, I would say so too. But I think Ben Johnson turned the Lions around too. So I would like to see the Lions, but I think it's going to go to D'Amico Ryans. Okay, that's it for NFL. We went way too long on that.
No, we didn't. Okay, so Gator, switching subject. Is there any news from the National Hockey League worth sharing?
Okay, well, the big one to me, I guess, was the Hall of Famer Bobby Hall. The Golden Jet died at 84. It's called the Golden Jet, Joe, because of his blonde hair and how fast he was. And you guys got to remember, they didn't wear helmets back then.
They didn't have any teeth back then either.
Sure. So, He played for the Blackhawks for 15 years, and he is the franchise career leader with goals of 604 even to this day.
Mm-hmm.
He did play with his brother Dennis for 6 years. He did score 298 goals. But in 1972, he signed the first $1 million contract in hockey, 10 years, $1.75 million. He left the Blackhawks to go help the Winnipeg Jets. Now, back in that day, the Winnipeg Jets were in the WHA, not the NHL. And he became the player coach for that team. He did renounce on his retirement in 78-79 season, but he did play 18 more games with the Jets and then went and played 9 games with Hartford Whalers. I think, oh God, I just drew a blank, but the oldest guy to play hockey, Gordie Howe. I think he played Gordie Howe with him on. I think that's, if I'm thinking right.
I don't know if he played with Gordie Howe.
Hartford
Whalers?
He
might have.
in the 70s.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, Bobby Hull was never going to win the Lady Byng Award for most gentlemanly player. Obviously, he had some off-the-ice issues.
Maybe that's what made him a good hockey player, Joe.
Yeah,
that anger
not nice guys play hockey, Joe. You already know that. You already say they're the best fighters.
They're very gentlemanly as they fight.
I've never seen a gentleman fight in the NHL. I guarantee
it. But he had problems with his wives, and he said things about Hitler and black people that were pretty off the wall. And it's unfortunate his career off the ice was just as bad as it was on the ice.
Well, yeah.
But his son, obviously, a great player.
Well, very respectful.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Any other hockey news, real quick?
Well, Austin Matthews is out for 3 weeks.
Toronto.
For Toronto.
Okay.
Hey, the other
That's
one.
a big loss.
That is a big loss.
Yeah, he's a major scorer.
Yeah, I guess just jump to it. Boston's 0-3 right now, Joe.
Okay.
And they haven't lost 2 games in a row all year. So why I'm bringing this up is since we are talking about Austin Matthews not being there, I still think Boston might lose to Toronto. Even with Matthews being there, they might go 0-4, Joe. That'd be amazing.
They have some games to play with.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying that at all, Joe, but I'm just saying.
But that was a tough trip.
Right now, Boston is still the number 1.
Florida, Tampa Bay,
Carolina. To win it, the line has them still number 1.
They lost that overtime game. They gave up a goal with like 2 seconds left.
Oh, yeah, Joe. I'm not saying that they were playing Chicago and
Arizona.
Like
a morning game in Carolina the next day.
Right. It wasn't like they were playing Chicago, Arizona. No. They were playing teams.
Really good teams.
Yeah, so it's nothing like that.
Okay. Is that good for hockey? Well, no. We have to get some picks, right? Who's hot and not.
Okay, well, the first off, like you're saying, Carolina's 8-1. They're the hottest. Okay. Colorado and Edmonton are both 7-1. Buffalo is 5-1. But Ottawa, surprisingly, 4-0 in their last 4. I had to throw them on there. Now, cold, like we just talked about Boston. St. Louis is 0-5. Okay. Vegas Knights, they're 0-4.
Surprising.
And Montreal is 1-5.
Now, I've noticed when I used to bet hockey a lot that teams that are hot or not going into the All-Star break, they can come out of the All-Star break a completely different team.
Yeah, you got to remind me of that, right, Joe? That's really hard. Like last year, I think on 2 or 3 weeks where it was 5-5 or we went 4-6 last week, this week.
Right.
So it's only my second time that I've done that.
But you're still 110-54 for the season. That's 67%.
Okay, that works.
Well, 66.6. So we think he's gonna. I think we got He's gonna take a devil team. I think he's gonna take a Devils this week. I don't know. Let's see what happens.
Do you have any predictions? Yes.
Okay. Well, I have. Well, the All-Star game.
Or the All-Star game.
Well, yeah. No predictions on the All-Star game.
Okay.
That's it. That is this weekend, but they resume again on Monday. And I got 3 games on Monday and 3 games on Tuesday. Montreal. On Monday, I have New Jersey over Vancouver.
Oh, I knew it.
There you go. Dallas over Anaheim. And Minnesota's going to be at Arizona, and I'm going to go against Arizona.
Okay.
And Tuesday, we have 3. I have Colorado at Pittsburgh. Colorado's going to beat Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's not playing that great right now.
All right.
Tampa Bay over San Jose.
San Jose.
Yeah, you know them guys.
Yeah.
And Edmonton's going to be at Detroit, and I still like Edmonton. Like I said, Edmonton's really hot right now.
Good pick.
Well, I will say about the All-Star game from 2016 to the present. That's the new current format for different divisions. The Pacific and Metropolitan divisions have alternated winning the All-Star game. This year, it's the Pacific's turn. Just saying. I'm leading.
So the Central's going to win.
Well, I heard they're going to have one. How many Sharks players are playing on that team? We got to know first. For Pacific probably has
zero. You have to have a player in the All-Star game.
As long as not his goalie.
Well, the Sharks must have one good player on the team somewhere. I don't know. But anyway. So, Big Rich, were there any big stories from the National Basketball Association?
Well, the biggest story this week, Joe, was Luka Doncic had a 53-point game over Detroit a couple nights ago, and that is his 5th career 50-point game, and he is the youngest player to ever do that, more than Jordan or LeBron James. So, good job, Luka. You're turning the Dallas team around. Anthony Davis is off the injury list, so if Anthony Davis does go to the Lakers, yes. And if he does go to the Hall of Fame and they retire his uniform, it's going to be street clothes up there in the rafter because he's in street clothes more than he's in a uniform. Oh, wow. So anyway, no, it's just a little joke on him. A little poke on Davis. Anyway, LA is kind of hot. They're 12-3 against the spread in their last 15 games. So those of you who bet NBA, makers starting to turn their stuff around. Still in last place in the Pacific, but they are playing better. But who's hot is the Nuggets. They're 7-3. They stay on top, and the Kings 7-3 again this week. Sacramento's on it. Memphis is 5-5 this week, but they're still on top of their division. The Pelicans, who were second, are 1-9. What is going on with Zion out there in the land of Louisiana? So that's 1-9. Stay away from them. In the East, we have Boston. They're 7-3, keeping pace. They should be 6-4 because LeBron James got fouled going into the end, and he had a major meltdown.
That was the biggest story this week is the Lakers getting hosed.
Well, I mean, that's basketball. I mean, come on. You went down to the last shot. I mean, they missed it, and Beverly filmed off his camera and showing it to the ref, got him a technical foul. Did not help. Doesn't matter. Anyway, you proved your point, but you cost your team a win. Thanks a lot, Beverly. Anyway, the Sixers are probably the hottest team right now. They're 8-2 in their last 10. Their one loss, they got a 23-point second half lead, and Orlando came back to beat them, the worst team in the NBA. So they should be 9-1, but they lost that one. Little meltdown. Bucks are on a 5-game winning streak. Like I said, they're healthy. That's a good team to start betting right now. They're 7-3 in their last 10, and the Heat are starting to pull away in the South. They're 7-3. Washington has won 6 in a row. Just to let you know, the Wizards are kind of back and forth. So they're on a little win streak right now.
All right. So what's happening in college basketball?
Well, Joe, as we predicted, Big 12 would outdo the SEC, and the one team I said I liked, Alabama, gets spiked by your Oklahoma Sooners and Norman. They were to go down to Norman, and they 93-69. So maybe that's something to show the Sooners are definitely, they might have something going, and they got a good game with Oklahoma State tonight. I kind of like to see them, and only dropping 3.5.
They might get in the big dance.
Yes, they're on their way. A win like that is a definite to get you off the bubble. I thought the Kansas and Kentucky game was interesting. Kansas had a 3-game losing streak playing in Kentucky, and they beat the Wildcats 77-68. And Tennessee handled Texas pretty evenly, and that moved them to the number 2 team in the rankings now. Purdue number 1. They're still 21-1, looking great. Houston remains at 3. Virginia moves up to 4. They're on a 9-1 streak right now, so they're a good team to bet. And Alabama dropped to number 5. Last night we had Kansas State lose to Kansas in the rematch. Choctaw walk, they were on it for sure. They spanked them by 12, and the 8.5 points, which I took, did not seem to come close. Kansas definitely said that, hey, little brother, we're still the team here in Kansas. Yeah. So we have on Saturday, since we said there's not a lot to bet on in the NFL this week, if you want, there's 16 top 25 teams playing, and there's a good one. Gonzaga goes to St. Mary on the late game right there. So I'll give it my producer if he wants me to put anything on the website. If you want some picks, as the spreads aren't out yet, we'll get with the producer if that's what he wants to do.
Okay. Well, Gator, tennis's first major, Australian Open, wrapped up last Sunday. We left off last week at the semifinals. How'd things finish?
Okay, well, Novak Djokovic ties Rafael Nadal with 22 Grand Slams and his 10th Open title.
10th Australian Open. Remarkable. And he overcame a leg injury to do it.
Yeah. Now, Novak's father, though, Joe, Serjan Djokovic, was outside the stadium Wednesday after Novak beat Tommy Paul. He was taking pictures with fans, but he did get caught taking a picture with some Russian supporters. I don't think he did it on purpose, Joe. I just think he was just out there having fun taking pictures with the fans, but he did not show up for the semifinal.
Well, if they're going to let the Russians play, I think you can take a picture with the Russian fans, too. You know, I mean, what's the big deal?
Yeah, keep politics out of this, man. It's all about tennis. You're not even on the same side of the court. It's fine.
Exactly. I'm with you. You're exactly right.
But Djokovic, I mean, he was crying uncontrollably after that match, so it obviously meant a lot to him.
It sure did.
So.
And the heckler wasn't there.
No. He was getting heckled.
Yeah.
He was there.
Ariana Sabalenka won over Alina Rybakina. Rybakina.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Where's she from?
She's from Russia.
But there you go.
She plays for Kazakhstan, and she goes by the Kazakhstan flag because they paid for her training and everything, and she was not supported by the Russian.
The Kremlin. That's correct.
Right. Yeah. Well, hey, you busted that one, Russia.
Although her family lives in Russia, she still goes under the Kazakh flag.
All right,
good for her.
Ariana, that was her first slam title.
That's nice. Yes, it is. She's 11-0 this year, undefeated. Yeah. She's only lost one set, and that was in the finals. So look out for Sabalenka. Yeah, she's very muscular, very masculine, you might say, and she looks like she's pretty dominant. And the only other thing I really noticed a lot was the seagulls flying around all over the place.
Yeah, I saw that too, Joe.
And all the poop on the freaking tennis court the whole time. So,
poor guys.
Yeah, it was very dangerous out
there. Stop feeding the pigeons.
So, Gator, is the NASCAR season beginning this weekend?
Yeah, well, not the season, but it's it's going to be at the LA Coliseum, Joe. And it's not for any points or nothing. The inaugural one was last year. But it's going to be at 2 o'clock.
Kind of a short track, huh?
Super short.
Super short.
Well, when they take that, I mean, just a couple months ago, they were playing the Rose Bowl there. So, is that track, do they have to redo it every time, or does it come in pieces, or do they just tear it out and do it again?
We did that last year. I was outside last year. They roll it. They just roll it out like a carpet.
No kidding.
Yeah.
How do they get it up?
I don't re-roll it.
So it's a roll-on. It's a roll-on track.
Like cement or something.
Yeah, they had. Yeah, well, they put dirt on it underneath them.
Okay.
But they could. Maybe they add something to it to make it stick like that.
It'd be interesting to watch how they put that together.
Well, the big news here, Joe, for the start of the season is Kevin Harvick is going to retire after this year. Now, he did come into the NASCAR in 2001, and this is his 23rd season. But last year, we had a lot of problems with NASCAR. Remember that next-gen car?
Yeah. Well, so, especially when you wreck.
Or, yeah, just driving it, too.
Driving it, and very dangerous.
Well, I don't remember having any issues like that last year at this track, so I don't expect it to be too much of an issue. But I am very interested to see how it works in Daytona, though.
Harvick from Bakersfield. That's where I was born. Beautiful Bakersfield, California. Do you have a prediction on the wins?
Well, last year I did pick Logano, and he did win. I was thinking that this year I would have to pick another short track driver, and I have to go with Kyle Busch.
Okay.
Well, I'm taking Truex Jr. He's good on the short track sometimes.
Yes, he sure is.
I'll take Truex on that.
So, Rich, there was one college football story last week. It was Stetson Bennett. What occurred?
Yeah, Stetson was stumbling in Fort Worth, Texas. Was it Fort Worth?
Fort Worth, yeah.
Fort Worth, Texas. Yeah, drinking a little bit too much of Grandpa's cough syrup, I guess, and got a drunk in public. Is that what it was?
Public intoxication. Yeah. He was banging on people's doors at 6 a.m. What he was trying to find, we don't know. The story hasn't come out yet. He's looking
trying to find his bed.
Is this my place?
Anyway,
but he is 25 years old, so it's not right.
Come on, Fort Worth, give the guy a break.
Yeah,
giving him I guess banging on the door's bed.
People. Well, yeah, you're waking people up. Right? It's not good.
Yeah.
So, Pebble Beach,
Yeah.
Pro-Am, beautiful Monterey, California.
Oh, yeah. Great tournament.
Yeah, it's beautiful to watch that particular tournament. Do you have a prediction for that one?
I like Spieth. Spieth's not at 9-1.
Spieth is my guy.
So,
I
sure.
like that. We can congratulate Michaela Schifrin. She's passed Lindsey Vonn now, and she's got 85 wins. 86 is Ingemar Stenmark, but she has to wait a little while, apparently.
Well, yeah, she finished second Sunday, but the World Cup champions are coming in at France this weekend, February 6th to the 19th. But those races will not count for the World Cup, so she's going to have to wait about a month. But Michaela did have the lead by 0.67 hundredths of a second, but on her second run, she fell to 14th.
Oh, wow.
So,
she not like her.
No. So that was probably the big news there.
Okay. Some quick news. World of Major League Baseball. Congratulations to 8-time Gold Glove third baseman, well-traveled Scott Rowland, elected to the Hall of Fame. Starting pitcher Zach Greinke staying with Kansas City on a one-year deal. Greinke's 20th season in the majors.
Wow.
That's a long time.
That's kind of just like the GOAT, huh? Kind of like Tom Brady.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Trivia. Trivia for you guys. Do you know who led the National League in batting average last year?
Oh, it was McNeil from the Mets.
Jeff McNeil. That's right. Very good. Very good, Big Rich. He signed on for 4 more years with the Mets. And Toronto is following the lead of Detroit as the Rogers Center is lowering fences and moving them in. Yeah, so expect more scoring at Blue Jay games.
Good. That's good.
And final thing, San Diego right-hand pitcher Mike Clevenger under investigation by the league for domestic and child violence and abuse. So we'll see if punishment is coming. We'll see how much of the season he'll actually play.
And he's with the Padres?
Padres now.
Right.
And thank you, Rockin' Ronnie McKinnon, for that info. So now it's time for those stories, those bets that we thought were excellent bets. They were going to win, but at the end, something went horribly wrong, and they ended up being losers. It's a segment we affectionately call You Got Hosed.
You got hosed.
Okay, well, my whole story, Big Richard kind of hit on it. The Lakers were playing Boston this week, and LeBron got a foul that was barely not called. Okay, so, you know, you got hosed in this game because they did end up losing in overtime.
You would have had the money line and the points.
Right. You would have got hosed. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because the Lakers seem to get hosed all the time on the road. And I don't think that we're going back to referees. I hate blaming the referees, but I am blaming referees, and I'm calling them out that you guys treat LeBron, and I don't know if it's because you guys are afraid that it's going to ruin a reputation of the great Michael Jordan or something, but I just think they need to stop it, treat the game fair, and it's very unfair, and I think anybody who's betting on the Lakers right now is getting hosed.
Well, I just told you they're 12-3 against the spread there, so I mean they're not getting hosed.
You
got
hosed.
You got played like this to do, but you have challenges in the NBA, Gator, and so they used their challenge earlier. If they would have saved their challenge, they could have used it on that play. And then Jalen said that he was not fouling him; he was just giving him a high five.
Oh, sure. and then they could give him another high five.
I'm sorry, Gator. I'm sorry. Okay, well, talking about got hosed, I got 2 double hosers coming on here. I'm going to talk first about I had Travis Kelce 49 or over 79 yards.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce was at 78 yards in the third quarter. I'm for sure going to get this. One more pass. He gets it, of course, on a 3rd and 9 and gets 5 yards, puts me at 84. I'm done. Check on the box score, 84, but no, there is a guy not stopping the clock, blowing the whistle, and then said, okay, wait a minute, we're going to take this play away. How can you take the play away? It just happened, but they did, and then they took it off the box scores, which took me now back to 78, and they never threw a pass to Travis Kelce the rest of the game. And I got hosed on it.
Yeah, you did. That's terrible.
It's terrible. And the other one is when I had Iowa State play Texas Tech. They were up by 23. I had plus 2.5. 23, they come all the way back. Their biggest time was 18 points ever in Texas Tech history, being down by the most. They were down by 23 plus my 2.5. That makes it 25.5. No way I should ever lost that. and then it goes to overtime, and then I have to shoot 3 free throws in overtime because they fouled him out of the 3-point line, and he only makes 1 of 3, and he's an 80% free throw shooter. And if you don't know what that is, you're mathematicians, that's 33%.
That's right.
So I got hosed on that one, too.
You got hosed. Well, I got hosed at the end of this NC Kansas City football game. We already touched on it, but in review, had the Bengals. Scores tied 20 with like 30 seconds left. Since he punts the ball, looks like the game's going to overtime. That low liner of punt should have been kicked out of bounds. There's a block in the back. Isn't called. It's been argued whether it was or not. Ball's returned around the 50. Then, of course, Mahomes runs to the sideline. There's holding on that play. Maybe there was, maybe there wasn't. You could be holding on every play, but it isn't called. And then Joseph Asai shows Mahomes when he's out of bounds, drawing the penalty, puts the Chiefs field goal range.
It was so sad to see him after that game, Joe, wasn't it? I mean, he was heartbroken. I mean, you don't see, linebackers cry very often. And,
just listening to Joe say is making me cry.
Thanks a lot, Asai. Thanks a lot. That crying doesn't help.
Yes, obviously they made the field goal. Over the course of those last 30 seconds, I got hosed like 3 times.
Yeah, exactly.
You got hosed.
That's it for the show. I'd like to thank Big Richard Martin, Gator Gates, all our contributors, our editor, producer, and engineer, Cornelius, and all you listeners out there. And next week, we look forward to bringing you another episode of Covering the Field. And next week, we should be
at the Why Not, the historic Why Not. We'll be there. We'll be having our Super Bowl edition pick there, and it's going to be a great time. If you're around in Carson City, come down there. The cheapest drinks in town for sure, and the greatest staff, and you have the greatest show in Carson City right here. We'll be there. Looking forward to it, Joe.
About 5:30 or so?
5:30.
Okay.
You've been listening to Covering the Field. Email us at coveringthefield@gmail.com for all your comments or questions. Find us on Twitter @CoveringField. And of course, always check out the website for our picks of the week and updated articles. coveringthefield.com.